For Hindu, sexuality is the main tool the nature uses to enslave humanity. Whoever wishes to achieve liberation must conquer his or her own sexual nature, escape the flow of life, and interrupt cycles of reincarnation. Nature and gods, on the other hand, seek to keep human beings enslaved. The world is their garden, its being is their cattle. Nature's entire organization aims to stopping human beings from reaching liberation when they will escape power. The best ways to keep them the prisoners of their own senses and of their own life. Consciousness, intelligence um, must therefore survive to free us from ourselves and nature's yoke, which obsesses us with sex and joy of living. Nature is menacing Varaka in its designs. It makes sexuality secret merely to enchain on more securely. Whatever dissimulates sexuality, whatever disguises it physically and morally, such as lying, modesty, and the notion of sin, are merely so many ways of dissimulating reality, so many weapons employed by nature to keep us more firmly in her nets. The current confusion between what is considered natural and what is morally allowable is, um, to say the least, very strange, considering that nature itself is the basic obstacle to anything spiritual. For a civilized being, sexuality must be without disguise, artifice, or veil. Sexuality must recognize as the tyrant, the rules life from which it is only possible to escape by renouncing life itself. Whether present or future, terrestrial or heavenly, we must stop deluding ourselves that our erotic composition of a princely figure with three favorite temple of okay, individual existence will continue in some human, in a most human form, or as some kind of asexual angel. Sexuality is the kind to a biological role in human personality as it is to our transmigrating entity itself and to our destiny. We must respect it and honor it to the day when we no longer need it, until we can abandon it together with everything connected with it. That is, whatever concerns our very existence. If sexuality manages to keep its secrets from us, it will play games with us, and at the very moment when we boast of having freed ourselves from it, we shall be all the more firmly in its grasp. The chastity practiced by yogis transform sexual energy into mental power. It is a difficult technique but gives considerable rapid results. It cannot be realized without contemplating the divine phallus, without concentrating on the subtle centers of eroticism in our own body. Chastity is not a virtue but a technique. The man who practices abstinence at the cost, incapable of dominating his own secretions in his own dreams, is only fooling himself. The more he tries to banish and escape from it, the more sexuality controls his secret impulse, inevitably impregnating his subconscious activities, playing games with him, and forcibly enslaving him. Puritarianism is the surest obstacle to liberation, and the most terrible impediment a person can encounter is the search of the divine. It is clear that only the ambitious, the rapacious, the cruel, the unsatisfied fear the manifestation of sexuality. Fear of sexuality has always been an indication of anti spirituality. Demonic sovereigns persecute sexuality so that it becoming more secret and henceforth controls not only the body, but which is of little importance, but also the mind. This prevents in complexes and sentimental substitutes, dissimulating it in forms of religion or social service, and thus upsetting values to such an extent that none can escape from it any longer. The temples are covered with erotic images because human beings have to be the pure and free from inhibitions before they can grasp the secrets of knowledge. The wise person does not fear the spectacle of pleasure, but instead admires its splendor and beauty. According to Shaivite Purana and the Tantras, only those who worship the phallus, who adore the Creator, is the most naked and guileless form of the procreative organ, may hope to overcome nature's stratagem. All those who seek spiritual liberation must worship physical union, keep it ever before their eyes, and admire the love and joy as it provides a pure state for paradise, sexual and erotic education. Pleasure is one of the reasons for living. In its realization is one of the ways of perfecting the human being's erotic techniques. Consequently, were and are still part of basic teachings imparted to adolescents at traditional Indian schools, including a complete theoretical knowledge of all erotic possibilities and variations, as well as understanding of symbolical and magical values of sexual acts. There are a great number of classical treatises on erotic art, of which the most famous is Kama Sutra, attributed to sage Vatsyayana. In such treatises, the various types of men and women are classified according to their sexual aptitude and the size of their organ. They also describe the various postures possible in sexual relations. A magical significance is attributed to the various postures, and when used in erotic rituals, they correspond to yoga postures as regards their um, physio psychophysical effects. Techniques concerning relations among persons of the same sex are illustrated too, as well as between men and women, animals, together with all ancillary and stimulatory elements of eroticism, hygiene, perfumes, aphrodisiacs, scarces, the subtle game of love, and so on. The educational value of erotic sculpture is manifold. First and foremost, it attracts to the temple those who would otherwise tend to live a purely materialistic existence. Looking at various scenes, they are unconsciously influenced by the inner hidden meaning of which the images are the symbols. It is essential, moreover, for anyone who has set oneself the goal of inner liberation to be free from all complexes and inhibitions. The spectacle of love games should fill one with joy without upsetting one. Um, Detachment, they should disturb one's inner peace no more than would the sight of flowers, clouds, or birds contemplating lovely in the most complicated and ambiguous forms is thus part of the sage's training. It is the technique of renunciation itself. This is why such images are placed above the door of the sanctuary, whose bareness evokes insensibility, the silence of non being, the final goal of all existence. If a man fears that he will backslide, it is because he is only under the illusion that he has liberated himself. Erotic sights should not tempt the sage to leave the path of perfection, since there is no returning to what has truly been left behind. Note on the text and illustrations. These are all bibliographies. Paris 1997. Alain Daniello is undoubtedly the Frenchman who has best known India, um, having lived there for a long time after studying in France and United States. Devoted himself to musicology, North Africa, the Middle East, in India, China, Japan, Asia. He then settled in India first at Santiniketan and then at Benares, where for more than 20 years he studied Sanskrit music and philosophy with traditional Hindu scholars. 1949, University of Benares appointed him researcher. In 1954, he became director of Research Center of Madras of the library at Aidar, one of the richest in India. In 1956, he became member of the Institut Français. His travels and research continued from Indochina to Iran, where he was the first to record excerpts of traditional music. From 1959, he became a member of the École Française de Paris. In 1960, member of International Music Council of UNESCO. He then founded directed comparative music studies in Berlin and Venice, and also directed UNESCO anthologies of music and musical sources. Alain Denelos. Many literary sources refer to erotic doctrines, its symbology, and its religious and mythical meaning. These sources can be classified in various kinds, including treatises on sacred architecture, ritual manners like tantras, in which erotic symbolism is particularly important, and lastly, books on erotic techniques. Images of various parts of the temple, major, divine, and human sanctions await those who build temples in which the erotic sculptures are not in the right place. The manuals still describe the erotic rites practiced by the cults and explain their philosophical, mystical, and magical meaning. Usually belong to the category of work known as tantras or agamas. There are very many such texts, and only a small number of them have been ever published. Notwithstanding the omissions deemed expedient by publishers, in 3 volumes of Shakti Sangama Tantra provide precious and interesting information about symbolism of erotic postures. Lastly, the treatise on erotic techniques define all postures, the various kinds of relations and temperaments of individuals, and all the sizes and possible shapes of sexual organs. These are fundamental for sculptor, who has considered the whole range of amorous practice. Some of these texts also serve as philosophical and moral introduction and provide a better understanding of the connection between erotic symbolism and sacred character attributed to erotic practices. Relations between husband and wife, like magical union of lovers, are considered as cosmic rites. Ceremonial acts, invocations, magical phrases must therefore punctuate every stage. Agni Purana. Alright, we're done here. Thank you. We're done with another book.